Hi guys, I thought I'd do a video just to show the equipment I'm starting out with. So I'll just kind of go down the list and tell you a little bit about everything. So the first one on the list is this 5209 New Idea disc vine. And it's probably the saddest piece of equipment I have. It's pretty worn out. I bought it on an auction 2 years ago, and it was really worn out when I bought it. The cutter bar in it, all the bearings were slopped out in it, and some gear sets needed changed. And I changed some of them, and I changed all the bearings in it, pulled it all apart, and I changed some of the gear sets. Now I'm kind of wishing I would have changed all of them. I put some U-set in there, and they were good, but I should have changed out some more, but they're really expensive. And I didn't anticipate keeping it this long, but these things are so expensive, you know. For a new one of these, it's like 35 grand, so just kind of keep limping this one along. Although I see the gearbox down there is leaking, so there's Ruger. He's checking it out. So maybe I'll do a video on that, figure out what's going on there. But, you know, I keep running it, and it does work. It rarely breaks down. I think it broke down one time last year. And, I don't know, it's okay. If I was going to update any piece of equipment, it'd probably be this one. But for now, I'm just going to keep limping it along. I got my backhoe here. It's a Case 580 Super K. That's been a great backhoe. On a farm starting out, and even just a farm running, you really got to have a backhoe or some sort of loader. And it's been a really nice backhoe. It's done a lot of work for me. I moved a lot of things, you know, you pick rocks with it, and just all kinds of odds and ends. But it's a pretty nice machine. I got to do some electrical work on it though. It doesn't charge and none of the gauges work, so I'd like to get that fixed at some point. And I got a lot of leaks in the back of it, and those need to be addressed. I got my gooseneck here. It's 30 foot. I use that quite a bit. So I got the John Deere B here. That's just it just does random stuff around here. It just shuttles stuff back from barn to barn. And I used to rake with it, but it burns so much oil that you can't hardly sit on it anymore. It'll choke you out. It needs an engine overhaul, and I'm not really sure it's worth it. Because every time you stop the tractor, it stops the PTO, and that's a pain for a lot of things. And from what I hear, 2 cylinders are really hard on gearboxes and implements because they're constant banging. It's not like a nice, even, steady rhythm of a modern motor. So I'm told that they beat up gearboxes a little bit, so I never tried to use them on anything like a tedder or nothing. It also overheats pretty easy. It needs a lot of stuff, and I just use it just for random things once in a while. I did put a new alternator on it because it didn't charge when I got it. Got my, I think it's an Oliver. It's an Oliver hay rake. I just painted this up too, John Deere green and yellow. All the rotating parts are yellow, and the stationary are all green. So my favorite tractor would have to be this International 584. I bought this about 3 years ago off of my uncle. And my first year actually farming here, it was the only tractor I had. So it did everything. It raked, it baled, it cut, it tedded. You know, I relied very heavily on this tractor. And it's done a great job. The only issue I ever had was the water pump went out on it and I broke a bolt in the front end. Beyond that, it hasn't been a lick of trouble. It's about 60 horse. It's a 4-cylinder diesel. It's got, I don't know, I think 8 speeds. Yeah, there's 4 speeds. There's a high and a low in it. And it's been a very solid tractor. If I could find another one of these in good shape, I'd be real interested in it. I put an umbrella on there too. That's nice in the summertime when it's hot. So my newest tractor would have to be this New Holland T475. I got this year just because I needed something with a loader, because I changed up my operation a little bit. I'll talk more about that in a minute and you'll see why. And that's 75 horse, and so far I really like it. I haven't put a ton of hours on it to know how much I like it, and I haven't serviced it yet. And I hear it's a huge pain on these, but maybe I'll do a video on that. And there's the loader for it. It's 4-wheel drive as well, so that's nice. He thinks he's a lot bigger than he is. I got my New Holland 315 small square baler. I bought this about 3 years ago. I got this off Craigslist, and it's been a solid baler. I really like New Holland balers, so that's what I was looking for. As far as square balers go, I think New Holland's probably the best. I haven't had to do a whole lot to this. When I bought it though, the plunger bearings and all that, and the knives were kind of beat up, so I changed all the plunger bearings and sharpened the knives and reshimmed everything. A couple adjustments to the knotters, but nothing major yet. So the reason I needed the loader tractor was because of this system back here. I used to run a New Holland 1030 bale wagon, stack liner, stack cruiser, whatever you want to call it. It was a pull behind. And it worked pretty good, but it was kind of slow, and it only held like 69 bales with the tie layer on it, so it's a lot of trips from the field back and forth, and it fit my barn just barely, and it was a job to get them all in there. And I knew in the future I wanted to go to like a accumulator and a grapple setup. And one day I just happened to be looking on Tractor House, which I never look on there, and I just somehow stumbled across this. I think it was in Indiana. And the deal was so good I just couldn't pass it up. So I'll show you how one of these work if you're not familiar with it. So the beauty of these things is they're just stupid simple. There's really not much to go wrong with them. The only thing that runs with them is chains and cables. There's not even chains on it, there's just cables and springs. So they're really simple. So what happens is this hitch right here hooks right up to the back of the baler, and as the bales come out, they hit this chute right here and they drop in, and if you follow where the gate's at, the bale's gonna run right down through there and all the way to the back. So it'll fill here, 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 and then it fills the centers, and then when the centers are full, it drops a bundle out the back, so you get 8, and then you pick it up with a grapple. Now I'll show you how this gate system works. It's really cool. So the first bale comes in, and then it goes down here, but after it passes this gate right here, it'll trip this lever. You see? Now it's gonna shuttle the next one down that side. And it'll keep doing that until there's 2 on each outside passage. So the last bale will hit this spring and hold it. And now it'll fill the inside. And after it fills the inside, it'll hit these trip arms, and those trip arms open this back gate, and that leaves your bundle out on the ground. And then the whole reason for the loader is this grapple over here, which hooks to the loader, and I can pick up the bundle of 8 and I can throw it on trailers, I can put it in the barn, I can do whatever I gotta do with it. So that's really nice because I don't have to wait on a whole bunch of high school kids or help, you know, because a lot of times help just doesn't show up, and with hay you gotta make it when the sun shines. I got this tedder. I actually bought this year, brand new from the John Deere dealer. It's an H&S 5200H, and it's a great tedder. It's a 4-basket, and if you're not familiar with these, what they do is they'll take 2 windrows and they'll spread them out flat in the field. That way they get more air and sun and they dry faster. In Michigan, it seems like the drying windows are just getting smaller and smaller, so you gotta make good hay as fast as you can. I looked at a lot of tedders before I bought this one, and there's a lot of things I like about this one over some other models and even the older H&S's. For one, they got a really beefy square tubing on them. It's a pretty thick wall tubing too, because I know the arms can get real weak and they bust and crack off, but this one hasn't been a problem, and some of my ground's pretty rough. And another cool thing I really like about it is, even folded up, how nice it actually turns. It's got a double U-joint system in it, which I'll show you. There's actually 2 U-joints in there, and it just turns crazy smooth even when it's folded up. There's no jerkiness to it. and everything's greasable on it. All the arms, the gearboxes are greasable. And if you're getting one, get one with the hydraulic fold. You'd be really happy that you did. It doesn't cost much more to get that. And I want to say this tedder probably cost, I think it was like 5,500 bucks or so. So it wasn't all that expensive for what it is. It seems like even the used ones, people want that kind of money for them. You're better off just buying a new one, because sometimes these things just aren't worth rebuilding. They cost so much to do it. The one thing I don't like about it, and it seems like all tedders are this way, but they put these tiny little tires on them. And it seems like you could fit just a slightly bigger tire in there and get more flotation, and it'd take more of that shock out from the rough ground. But I don't know, they're all that way. So a little bit about this place real quick. This place was built by my great-grandparents about 100 years ago. And my grandpa was born here and farmed here his whole life. And he passed about 3 years before I was born, so 91. And when he passed, all of the equipment here was all sold off at auction, and you were just left with the outbuildings and the house. And my grandma lived here for the remainder of her life until she passed, and I had the opportunity to buy the place and start farming it. So before I even moved in here, I didn't know this deal was gonna come up. I really didn't, but I knew that eventually I wanted to farm. So I just always been buying equipment. I was always watching auctions and stuff and looking for things to fix up, because that's kind of how a young guy has to do it. It's super hard to get into farming, but if you really want to, you can do it. It takes a lot of planning, and you really got to be strategic. But overall, I got 116 acres here, and I'm only farming 20 this year, and I'm gonna add on, I think, another 20 come fall. So this is kind of what you're looking at. It's been raining a lot last couple of days. So there's like a little over 80 acres back here, and then the rest is all across the road. That's my hay field across the road. Boy, looks like you've been playing in the puddles. You're all wet. So I'm slowly growing into more and more of it, taking over more acreage and upgrading equipment and trying to really smooth things out. There's a lot of learning to do yet, and I'm just kind of figuring things out as I go, mostly stumbling my way through it. So if you guys got any interest in this kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.